All right, welcome everyone to the Seven-Figure Seller Summit keynote finale. This is happening live. This is tonight's closing keynote, and thank you everybody for joining. My name is Gary, and I'm the host and creator of the Seven-Figure Seller Summit, and I'm super excited to be broadcasting live from Shanghai. So thank you for joining us, and today we're going to cover the 10 things that I learned after interviewing our 20 plus seven-figure sellers and experts. And I know it was kind of a ton of information and a ton of value that you guys probably got from the session. So I'm helping summarize the key takeaways that I got from inviting our speakers. And there's going to be some time for Q&A at the end. And so before we begin, can I ask for a favor? If you can please, if you can see this video, can you type in the chat window your name and where you're viewing from? Because I know we have viewers from all over the world. So if you can take a second, if you can see me, if you can hear me, and just let me know your name and where you're viewing from, that would be awesome. And also for those of you that stick around till the end, you're gonna find out about a special bonus that we're gonna offer for those that have already upgraded to our All Access Pass and anybody else that joins tonight. All right, so great. Welcome, Carmen from Romania. Great to see you. All right. Yeah, so one of the best things about a virtual summit like this is that you can join from all over the world. And that's one of the reasons why I created this. So, you know, not only are you able to connect with these seven-figure sellers in the US and also from, you know, Australia and all the different parts of the world, but also, you know, you can connect with each other as well. So you can really surround yourself with, you know, successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. So I see James from the UK. Welcome, James, from across the pond. It's great to have you. All right. So yeah, it's great that everybody is going to be here. So, all right, so let's just stay on schedule. And so the format will be like this. So first, I'm going to offer my summary of the takeaways. And these are kind of the points that resonated most to me because I am an e-commerce seller. You know, I am in the day-to-day, in the grind. So these are some things that I felt resonated to me. And then afterwards, I'd like to hear from you as well, because everybody is at a different phase of their business. They're dealing with different challenges. And at the same time, they have, you know, the same goal. They want to scale up to seven figures and beyond, right? So I like to really, you know, keep this interactive as well. Okay, cool. So let's get started. Let's dive right in. So number one, okay, so after talking to over 20 e-commerce experts and seven-figure sellers, one common trait that I noticed in many speakers was the drive and the hustle to make things happen at all costs. Okay, and my good friend Greg Mercer says that he sees the majority of people fail because they get too discouraged by the lows. Because, you know, as an entrepreneur, it's not just going to be smooth sailing every day, right? There's going to be like ups and downs, highs and lows, right? So for Greg, he told me that for his first Amazon product, he ordered 2,000 units. And then when they arrived from China, and then when he opened up the cartons, he saw like the packages had wet paint. They were stuck together. And that was a huge headache for him to fix this problem. And then there was a moment that he actually questioned himself. He thought that maybe this Amazon thing wasn't cut out for him. And then this is Greg Mercer from Jungle Scout, right? So, I mean, even someone like him, you know, dealt with these really low lows. But what did he do? He decided to just push through it, okay? So he just literally, he repackaged everything, like all 2,000 boxes, like he fixed the problem and then he sent it to Amazon FBA and then the rest is history. So lesson learned, drive and hustle to make these happen at all costs, okay? And also Chad Rubin, he's also a successful seven-figure seller. He says that you must be willing to do things that others are not willing to do. Okay, you must be willing to do things that others are not willing to do. And then even if you look at Chinese sellers, many of them, they're willing to work really long hours. You know, I was talking to Jimmy Dai, my friend here in Shanghai. He's also a seven-figure Amazon seller. And then he says, like, in the Chinese work culture, they're willing to work like zombies. They're working at least 6 days a week. They're up late at night, really just putting in the drive and the hustle. Okay, so I would ask you guys, are you willing to put in the work and to work harder than your competitors to succeed? Okay, this is really key. Or maybe some of you might be taking a holiday in August while your competitors are like passing you by and getting ready for Q4, right? So really the drive and the hustle to make things happen at all costs. That's the number one takeaway, right? Number two is the ability to learn, to teach yourself, and to start now. The ability to learn, to teach yourself, and to start right now. Okay. Andy Humphrey, he taught us how he created this amazing system of Facebook Lives that helps him build a list of engaged fans and sales. Okay. And then he says that, this stuff, they don't teach you this stuff in school. To be a successful e-commerce entrepreneur, the skills are not taught in school. Okay. He learned this on his own. All right. So he started experimenting with Facebook Live. He found someone to be the face of his product, his private label product on his Facebook Live. It wasn't himself, right? But he started experimenting. And then he said that he's willing to take some risks along the way. I mean, he says, as long as it doesn't kill someone, like, I don't think that we should go to that extreme, but you should be able to learn on your own, teach yourself how to do this and start now. Similarly, Mike Jackness, and his presentation about the marketing trifecta, he taught this in the marketing phase, right? So he learned this on his own. He learned how to use Facebook Messenger, how to target people using Facebook pixels, and also the whole email marketing campaign. So this was the marketing trifecta: the Facebook Messenger, the Facebook pixels, and then the email targeting. This way he has the customer covered on all sides, right? And then he said he learned this on his own. And most importantly, he says it doesn't have to be perfect. Just start right now. Okay. So ability to learn, teach yourself, and start right now. And then Greg Mercer is also really good at this. I mean, like he said that's one of his the principles that sets him apart is learning how to use software and tools on his own, tools like Zapier. For me, like I'm trying to do this myself. And then with a tool like Zapier, I'm struggling. So I asked him, like, how do you learn it? He says he just goes on YouTube and he watches those tutorials. So like sometimes just, having that mindset to ability to learn and teach yourself and start right now, that's one of the important things for e-commerce success. All right. And then remember, the important thing is to start right now, because the longer you wait, the further you fall behind. So imagine, like, some of you guys may be in the early phase of selling on Amazon. Imagine if you got started a year ago, right? If you got started in 2017, and then you had at least, that first Q4 under your belt, imagine how much further ahead you would be right now, right? You would be like almost at 7 figures, or at least you have like a steady, income, maybe like 5 or 6 figures already, right? So remember, start right now. The longer you wait, the further you fall behind. All right, that's number 2. All right, number 3, build a moat around your business. Okay, so if you imagine your business kind of like a castle, like in medieval Europe, they have those castles with like the King Arthur and stuff. They have like this moat or body of water, or maybe like a river that's around the castle. So it protects the castle against any competitors that try to invade it, right? So similarly with e-commerce, many of the 7-figure sellers that I've talked to have told me they either say this outright, they're building a moat around their business, or they're building, something, it's almost like a wall that's not easy to penetrate. And then there's many ways that you can do this, as you have seen, right? So one way you can build a moat is to make your product very hard to copy, right? Don't just sell a Me Too product that you get off Alibaba, right? So my friend Chris Davey, he gave us an inside look about rapid product development, like how he does it. And he uses stuff like 3D printing to really, get the prototypes out really fast and really cheap, rather than having to invest, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on tooling. He can rapidly get those prototypes, right? And then this is something that many of your competitors will not be able to do. Also, another angle on making your product hard to copy is to offer personalization, right? Jordan Lindbergh is doing this with his funeral urns, by offering a personalized product. He's able to add at least 30% on top of his selling price. And then his competitors have a hard time competing against that. So these are some ways that you make your product hard to copy. And again, this session, I'm not going to dive deep. I'm just going to go on a high level for you guys to dive deeper into those individual sessions, just to kind of like point you guys in the right direction. Okay, so definitely, I strongly recommend you check out those sessions, especially if you have the all access pass. You guys have lifetime access. All right. Continuing building a moat around the business. Use legal ways. All right. So use patents, use trademarks, use copyrights, right? So this way you can protect your IP, you can protect against competitors potentially copying your product. And then John G. Giacomo gave a really good session about how to do this for your e-commerce business. Okay, if you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend you check it out. Like he talks about, trademarks, and also on the other side, if you're looking to, select a new product, and then if you see a product on, for example, Amazon, and it says patent pending, what should you do, right? Should you still consider that, or should you walk away? Like these are some key things that you can do to both, build a moat around your business and also, stay out of trouble as well. Okay. Also, building a moat, I really like what Paul Miller did, talking about licensing your product, right? So Paul Miller, with Cozy Phones, he was able to license his product to big brand names like Nickelodeon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? So by being able to get these brands, these licenses on his products, he not only differentiates his products from his competitors, but also he can build a moat around the product. If anybody else tries to copy his product and sell it on Amazon, he can immediately have Nickelodeon's lawyers, just get on those guys, right? So he literally has like a really strong defensible moat around his product by using product licensing, right? So that's Paul Miller's session. And also another way to build a moat around your business is to build an audience, right? So anybody that sells on Amazon knows that this is one of the biggest struggles, because Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he's never going to tell you the customer emails and their information, right? He keeps it really close to his chest. So how do you build an audience? One way that I found was a really smart strategy is Vance Lee's strategy about crowdfunding, like doing a Kickstarter or doing an Indiegogo campaign. Because a lot of times as Amazon sellers, people kind of overlook this crowdfunding part, because as an Amazon seller, you already have a lot of skill sets that will give you a leg up against competitors if you do Kickstarter. I'm not going to go too deep into that. Definitely check out Vance Lee's session on crowdfunding for ways to quickly build an audience through Kickstarter and Indiegogo. All right. So these are some strategies to build a moat around your business. And I see like so many 7-figure sellers doing this, right? So they're really defending against the competition. Okay. And number 4, spend 80% of your effort on product selection and product development, right? So really focusing on the products. And 2 of the 7-figure sellers who have sold their businesses in the 7-figure range, both have said they spent 80% of their effort on their products. Okay, Sophie Howard, she said that she spends 80% of her effort on product selection. And then she travels the world. Okay, she travels the world to build a small portfolio of profitable products within her brand. Okay, and then she selected products from India, from Australia, from New Zealand, and from the US. I mean, she lives in New Zealand, and then she sources locally. Okay, so she spends a lot of time on the product selection. And another 7-figure seller, Dave Bryant, he spends most of his time tweaking his product development, which he's doing to rapidly build his business. Okay, so they're really doubling down on the product selection and product development phase. I know there's so many different parts of this business, but it seems that product selection and product development, this is one of the 80/20s, okay, for you guys to take away. And then Greg Mercer says the same thing. He says like, I asked Greg before, how should I scale my business to 7 figures? He says, just keep adding SKUs, right? Just keep adding products to build your business. Okay, so product selection, product development. However, be very careful. Like when you purchase your product, and then I've made this mistake before, you want to first start small, and then you double down on the home runs later. Okay, you start small, and then you double down on the home runs later. So what do I mean by this? Place small orders first. Okay. I was talking to Dave Bryant about this, and then he says when he first starts out, okay, if he has, let's say, $20,000 to spend on inventory, he makes them smaller orders because everybody has a limited amount of cash, right? So rather than placing one $20,000 order for one product, he places 8 orders, right? Instead of one, he places 8 orders for 8 different products, $2,500 each, right? So this way you can get as many diverse products as you can, and then you can find out which ones are going to be base hits, which ones are going to be home runs, and which ones are going to be outs. Okay, so start small orders first. Sophie Howard has a similar strategy. Starting with small orders, she negotiates down the MOQ from the suppliers, right? So I know a lot of you guys, you're negotiating with suppliers, they may ask for a 1,000 MOQ. This is negotiable. Okay, you don't have to just take what you get. Okay, remember, this is negotiable. You want to start small, right? Because you want to diversify. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Okay, and then 8-figure seller Bernie Thompson says that as he scales his business from 6 to 8 figures, he diversifies the products. His mindset, his strategy is kind of like a VC or venture capitalist. If you're in like the Silicon Valley world, you want to get more at bats, right, for chances to hit home runs. So, start small, spread it out among a lot of different products. So this way you can get some home runs. Okay, not everything is going to be a home run. There's going to be some strikeouts, right? I mean, that's just life. Nobody hits home runs all the time. But if you don't get up to bat, then there's no chance that you can score. All right. So after you do that, then you can double down. After you have those multiple products, then you can double down on the home runs, right? And then with these products, you want to cut the underperforming ones and then place more orders on the home runs. But the key is you got to get some at-bats for the chance to hit home runs. And I've made this mistake before. I was really aggressive in, one of the niches that I got in. And then I placed an order for like $17,000 on the first order. But afterwards, the market became flooded. So my advice, start small, spread that out first in the beginning. All right. Number 6, and this one is really interesting. And then so many 7-figure sellers have told me about this. Just going to trade shows. Okay. Not only sourcing product from trade shows, but also learning by going to trade shows. So many of these 7-figure sellers have told me they either source or learned a lot by going to trade shows. For example, KJ Robinson. Okay. His product was featured on Oprah's Favorite Things. After it featured on that show, he sold 20,000 units overnight, literally overnight, 7-figure business. He sourced his product from trade shows. Okay. Jimmy Dai in China, he tells me that he goes to trade shows all the time to source products. He doesn't use Alibaba. He doesn't use 1688.com. Why? Because everyone's using them. Okay. So he wants to find products from trade shows. And then obviously besides Canton Fair, there's also a lot of good other trade shows. There's the Global Sources exhibitions in Hong Kong, which happen in October and April. They're actually sponsoring this event. So I like to take a moment to thank them. And then I've gone to these trade shows before. And if you're in electronics, they're the world's biggest trade show for electronics, both for mobile and for regular electronics. And then they're also very strong in home and lifestyle products and fashion and luggage. So if you get a chance, I highly recommend you check out their trade shows. And then one good thing about Global Sources is that they have an online website as well, globalsources.com. And then you can actually see the exact suppliers that are going to the trade show. And then you can set up appointments with them before you go. And then that's another best practice as well. Do your research before you go. Okay. Some trade shows don't allow that, like Canton Fair. I mean, it's huge. It's kind of messy, and I don't think you can set up appointments, but other trade shows, you can, right? And then talking about trade shows, you can visit trade shows in other countries besides China. It could be in your home country, like for example, in the US, there's trade shows going on in Las Vegas, in New York, in Florida, and then it's a great chance to source products as well. And also, this is a great way to source products where your competitors are not looking. People like Sophie Howard, like she's really good at this. Like she leads she leads groups of people to source from trade shows in India, for example. Like really consider these trade shows to find these unique products. Okay, talking about the wholesale side of business, Eddie Levine. Okay, he goes to trade shows as well. Okay, he says it pays to meet these vendors face to face to build a relationship to increase your chances of starting a business together. Okay, so he goes to trade shows for his wholesale business as well. Okay, Paul Miller, again, product licensing. He goes to product licensing trade shows to build his contacts. All right, it also it goes down to relationships as well. I mean, ultimately, this is a people business, regardless if you're in the U.S. or if you're in the EU or especially in China with Guanxi, as many of you guys heard me share more about. It is building good relations to build better business. Okay. Another good thing about trade shows is that you can gain marketplace intelligence. You can learn so fast about your product and your whole the whole niche. For example, Jordan Lindbergh, when he sourced his first product, he went to a trade show in Las Vegas. And then he told me he wasn't supposed to be there. I mean, he wasn't in the industry at all, right? But he went to the trade show. He ended up there somehow. And then he asked a lot of questions to the different vendors. And then he literally just that one trip, he learned about the whole supply chain, which led him to India, not China, to source his product from India. He never would have found out that information if he didn't go to that trade show. Okay. So it's not only to source your product, but also to learn more about your product. Okay. So huge nugget is definitely go to trade shows. Not just Canton Fair, trade shows such as Global Sources in Hong Kong, or also trade shows in your home country and in Europe as well. There are some great opportunities there. Okay, number 7, talking about marketing. I'm not a marketing genius, but that's why I invited all of these people that are. So one of the common themes that I'm seeing in marketing is Facebook Messenger. This looks like it's going to be the next big thing, or already it is the next big thing. Okay, so part of Mike Jackness's marketing trifecta, talking about Facebook Messenger, you get insanely high response rates from people, open rates from people. Okay, open rates as high as 90%. That's insane compared to email. Email normally is in like the 10 or 20% range. So you have like 9 out of 10 people reading your messages. That's insane. And also right now, as of this time, it's a low cost of acquisition. Okay, so that means that it's actually lower cost for you to acquire these leads. Andy Humphrey with his Facebook Lives, Facebook Messenger plays a big part of this in this as well. And then many other 7-figure sellers have told me privately that they're trying to teach themselves Facebook Messenger. So this is one of the big things. So definitely check out those sessions where they teach you what's working now for them, so you can do it too. So remember, start now. Okay. The next one is to know your margins. Okay, your profits. Know your margins and your profits, especially if you want to sell your business later. Okay, I know a lot of you guys have that 7-figure exit, 8-figure exit as your end goal. Okay, so you really have to know your margins and your profits. Okay, again, my friend Dave Bryant, he says revenues are vanity and profits are sanity. Okay, he comes from a finance background, so he before he sold his first business, he shared with us that he cuts down on costs. Okay, so to increase his profits, because for every $1 he saves in costs and expenses, that adds $3 to his company valuation. So for example, costs like utilities, like his phone bill, you can negotiate that down, reduce any unnecessary software you're not using, optimize your marketing costs, PPC. He said he cut down on 80% of his advertising spend while keeping his revenue steady. Okay, and then even thinking outside the box, like for example, like rent, like he was renting an office before, and then he saw that if he had his team work remotely, he could save $30,000 a year on expenses. And then when he sold his business, this $30,000 in savings, there was a 3x multiplier. It amounted to $90,000 on top of his selling price of his business. Okay, so the takeaway is to check your profit and loss, your P&L every month. Okay. And then Mr. X, our private equity buyer, whose identity we couldn't reveal because he's not supposed to speak on record because he is working for one of the top private equity firms. His take on valuation is that the typical range for e-commerce businesses in the 6 to 7 figure annual revenue range is about 2.5 to 3.5x. Okay, based on the 12-month seller profits and seller discretionary. So definitely know your margins and your profits if you want to sell your business later and to increase valuation. Okay. Number 9 is to negotiate. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. A lot of you guys may not be doing this. You might be leaving money on the table. Okay, so besides pricing, obviously, did you know you can also negotiate minimum order quantities, right? I mean, if a supplier comes at you with 1,000 MOQ, if you can't afford that, you should negotiate that. Okay, everything in this business can be negotiable, but it depends on how you do it. Okay, you can negotiate for exclusivity. You can get your products to be exclusively sold to you. Okay, Eddie Levine talks about doing this in his session on wholesale, right? You can negotiate phone bills, right? SaaS, software that you're not using, right? A lot of you guys might be Amazon sellers and you have like a ton of software that you might not even open, right? I'm guilty of this. So, every month review your P&L, right? Cut down on those unnecessary spends. You can also, here's one thing that almost nobody is talking about. You can negotiate your shipping as well. Okay, you can negotiate with your freight forwarder. You can negotiate with, your quotes you're getting from FedEx. Jordan Lindbergh, he's an expert in logistics and third-party logistics, warehousing. Like, he really goes into detail about the stuff that you can negotiate with your shipping costs. Okay, you can negotiate your payment terms as well. All right. So, rather than 30/70, as you build a stronger relationship and trust in guanxi with your suppliers, you can negotiate for better payments. You can get net 30, after the goods land, you can, pay later. All right. So this really improves your cash flow, because I know a lot of you guys have the struggle with cash flow, as you're scaling your business, because this is an inventory business. So if you can negotiate to pay your suppliers a little later, rather than 30/70, maybe like 0, net 30, or like, 100% upon shipment, that will free up more of your cash flow that you can reinvest back into your business, or maybe to pay your salary. Okay. So remember payment terms, that's a key thing. All right. And then ultimately, one of the key things to successfully negotiating is that don't be afraid to walk away. That's what KJ Robinson said. Okay. I mean, he's negotiating with a lot of the big box retailers, after he got on Oprah. Like, if you check out his session, like, he'll walk you through exactly how he got his product on Oprah. Now he's entering big box stores, kind of like the Targets or the Walmarts, stores like this, and then they offer, their terms are like, really draconian, like they literally make you pay for like marketing expenses, or if like your products don't sell, they make you take them back, right? All of these terms, they're negotiable. Okay. Growing up, some of you may know that my mom is a retired fashion designer, and then she for her business they manufactured, and then they were able to get into department stores like a Nordstrom, and then like the Nordstrom people, they were like really tough negotiators, and like I think for a small business owner like my mom, like she was kind of intimidated by that. So one of the key takeaways for negotiating that I learned from KJ is that you shouldn't be afraid to walk away, because you do have the right to negotiate, and then sometimes they'll accept, but if you don't ask, you never know, right? So the worst thing that can happen is they say no. So remember, negotiate. And then some of you guys may have a question about how do you negotiate? Well, I actually wrote an ebook on negotiating for online sellers that shows you how I do it. I talk about a lot of the different scenarios, and then we're going to offer this as a bonus for our all access pass holders for the people that upgrade. Okay, so there's an ebook that I wrote. It's about 33 pages talking about all the different scenarios and all the different things that you can negotiate. So that's we're adding more stuff to our bonus area for our all access members as well. Okay, and then all right, number 10. All right, so as we're coming to the close of this, is the highest thing that you can do to leverage. The highest thing is to hire. Okay, to hire people, right? So I know a lot of you people, they may be like a one-man or a one-woman team, just operating out of maybe their home or their basement, and then you're kind of like you yourself are a bottleneck. And I've struggled with this before as well. Okay, Chris Rawlings, like he's launched over 1,000 products on Amazon, through his own Amazon private label products and through Judo Launch. And then he said, number one highest leverage thing for him to do is to hire, right? To build a team. Okay. So, when you're hiring, they can be specialists, like, people that may manage your PPC, for example. Sean Smith and Taylor Benterud, they said that many 7- and 8-figure sellers, they simply don't have the time to manage their PPC, right? Because they're spending more time on growing their business, right? I mean, it's the opportunity cost. So they outsource this to professionals. Okay, so you can hire specialists. But on the other hand, I find that one of the biggest ROIs is to hire like a general VA, kind of like a generalist, like someone that you can hand off, more administrative tasks and tasks that might be more repetitive. For example, customer service or, like shipping and stuff like that, right? I mean, like, if you think about it, like Amazon FBA, you're outsourcing the shipping to them. Like when I first started in e-commerce, I mean, in the very early days in about 2005, at that time, there was no Amazon FBA. And then at that time I was selling on eBay and I had my own store. It was like a Yahoo store. It's kind of like the Shopify of today. At that time, I rented out like a very small, warehouse. And actually, it was a corner office. I'll be honest with you guys. It was like a corner in my mom's, fashion office. And then I had like a thermal printer, and I had a whole bunch of USPS priority mailboxes. And at that time, I was selling women's shoes. And then I was picking and packing and fulfilling myself. So literally, like every day, around 3 o'clock, I'm like, okay, it's shipping time. So I print out all my eBay orders and then, get ready. I put on some music and I would just start, packaging, right? And then after that, I would literally have to drive to the post office. I would just like, drive up to the loading dock and then just drop off my packages. And then I was really proud. I'm like, hey, this is a real business. I'm selling stuff, right? And then, but now, if I look at it, I mean, if I had those additional like 3 hours a day, I could have been growing my business, right? I could have been, sourcing more product. I could have been doing something else that was adding more value to my business. I could have scaled my business a lot faster. So, I mean, this is a perfect example, whether it's shipping or even like a general VA. And I think that a lot of people are struggling, to hire a general VA because they are, it's not that easy. It's not just like what, the 4-hour work week and Tim Ferriss says. I mean, it is an awesome book, but at the same time, it's not so easy. So if you're thinking about hiring a VA, I highly recommend checking out today's session by Nathan Hirsch from FreeUp. And he really dives deep about how to hire a VA, what questions to ask, in the interview to identify red flags, and also how to manage them. Okay, so I highly recommend that you guys check that out. Remember, highest leverage thing you can do is to hire. Okay, so whether you decide to hire like a remote team, so people like Kelly Fidio, she does this. She has a remote team, for her 7-figure business. Or if you hire like a team in the same time zone, right? People like Greg Mercer, Jungle Scout, like his team is mostly in the same time zone, or they can be in the same office as well, like someone like a Bernie Thompson, right? I mean, definitely the highest leverage thing that one can do is to hire. Okay. I've already gone through 10. I think that if you guys want to hear a little bit more, do you guys want to hear more? Are you still there, or did everybody fall asleep? If you're still there, can you say yes in the chat just so that I know that I should keep going? Okay. So I see some yeses there. All right. The best is yet to be. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. Excellent. Okay. I just want to leave you with 2 more. Okay, Taylor Smith's Give Me More. All right. I love the passion, Taylor. All right. Okay. I'll give you 2 bonus ones that I found were very surprising to me. Okay. So besides, all of the hacks and, everything that everyone else is talking about, real entrepreneurs, I find that sometimes, they're working so hard, but they gotta go on a retreat. They gotta like take a hike. They gotta escape this day to day. Okay. Bernie Thompson says that he takes long 4 to 12 hour hikes to create mind space. Okay. So Bernie, he runs an 8-figure business on Amazon. Okay. He has a team, but on the weekends, I know he's really into outdoors. So he'll go on a long 4 to 12 hour hike, go into nature. And then this way to create some mind space, for himself to generate, kind of recharge, to refresh. Greg Mercer, he goes on retreats, okay? Whether he goes with his wife or with his team, or with a group of entrepreneurs, like a mastermind, he kind of escapes that, right? John DiGiacomo, he goes sailing, right? He goes on his boat in Michigan, he goes sailing. And then Chad Rubin, he DJs. I think that's kind of cool, So I think that, and then like, if you can't escape, if you can't go into the wilderness, if you live in like a big city like me in Shanghai, like 23 million people, and we just have like metal and concrete, at least exercise, right? So like Kelly Fidio, 7-figure seller, mother of 2, and she's she really has a great work-life family balance. And then she says like her exercise, like her daily run, that's something that's non-negotiable. Okay, so like why do something like this? Why go on a retreat? Why take a hike? I mean, you could just like spend that time more on your business, right? One of the surprising things is, and then I've been reading more about this, is that your mind is in a constant battle between the conscious and then the subconscious mind. Okay, and then if you look at a lot of the most creative people, whether it's like Steve Jobs or some of the other business successful business people, their greatest moments of inspiration, they actually pop up from the subconscious, right? So a lot of people say like, when they're in the shower, that's like a great time. They come up with these great ideas when they're in the shower, right? So why is that? Because I've been reading, Principles by Ray Dalio. Like if you guys haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. He says that clearing your head may be the best way to produce better ideas. Okay, clearing your head may be the best way to produce better ideas, because a lot of times we're just in the dirt. We're thinking about Amazon, we're thinking about reviews and PPC, this, that, and the other thing. But a lot of times when you clear your head, you find that better ideas will come, right? You got to block out that noise. And then I just remember Steve Jobs, like rather than having meetings in the office, like he would go on a walk. Right? He would go on a walk with someone and take the meeting that way. And then he finds that as he's exercising, his body is in motion, and like maybe he sees, he's in a good neighborhood, maybe there's a lot of trees there, or he gets better ideas, right? So go on a retreat, take a hike, just get that space to create your mind space so that you can come up with better ideas. And then many of the 7-figure sellers I've spoken to, they all practice this. Okay, and then one more thing. And that I'm a big fan of this, is that surround yourself with a community of entrepreneurs. Okay, so remember, I keep saying, I sound like a broken record, right? But Jim Rohn said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So whether surrounding yourself with people, with the goal of networking, like like Kelly Fidio, like that's what she says she does. She goes to a lot of conferences, masterminds, or for learning. My good friend Chris Davey, he goes to a lot of these events, such as Global Sources Summit for online sellers in Hong Kong. That's a great opportunity as well, for learning, or just getting support from other entrepreneurs like Vance Lee. He's a digital nomad in Chiang Mai in Thailand. He goes to these types of conferences as well. Just surrounding yourself with a community of entrepreneurs. And then this can be offline or it can be online, right? So Elaine, the offer of the $1 million one person business, she's talked to hundreds of $1 million entrepreneurs. And then she says that really surround yourself with a community of entrepreneurs to support you, because a lot of times your friends may be working in the corporate world, they don't really understand what you're doing or what you're going through. So you really need that community to kind of support you, to help you get to that next level, right? So even if you're not doing the if you're not going to the these types of in-person events, you can go to online events, right? So, with this way, you can surround yourself virtually with e-commerce entrepreneurs. And then we have some time for Q&A as well. And then I saw that Taylor, I see your question, and we'll get to that as well. Okay. So talking about surrounding yourself, obviously stuff like the 7-figure seller summit, and then these are great ways that you can surround yourself with these types of entrepreneurs online. Okay, so I just like to take one moment to talk a little bit more about our All Access Pass, because I know some of you guys may have joined either during the summit or like maybe later, you may have missed a couple of sessions. So we do offer the option to upgrade to the 7-figure Seller Summit All Access Pass. And then this way you'll get lifetime access of all of the over 20 sessions with our speakers. And then you'll get a lot of great bonuses as well. And then here's what some people have said when they upgraded. Suvir said that I was not able to watch them at the initial time, so live. So Suvir plans to watch them again. And then, or maybe you're like, Gary in Melbourne, Australia, who says, thanks a lot for the 7-figure Seller Summit. Darn good questions you're asking these super sellers. I learned a lot. Or maybe you're like, Carmen in Romania, right? I mean, it's not that easy to meet a lot of these 7-figure sellers, but by getting the All Access Pass, she really has time to really, watch the sessions over and over again so that she can really absorb the key takeaways that she can apply to her business. So real quick, if you do upgrade, you get lifetime access, you get the MP3, the audio downloads as well. So you can download them and listen to them on the go. And then we've created some PDF action guides. So if you're more of like a visual person, more of like a visual learner, you can quickly scan through the PDFs. And then we're adding more of these to the bonus areas for the All Access Pass. And then we also have the 7-figure Seller Summit Mastermind community. It's a private Facebook group to get your questions answered. So I'm in there. Some of our speakers are in there as well. Someone asked a question about the wholesale, business of e-commerce. And then, one of our speakers, Eddie Levine, like he jumped in there, he answered the question. So I think that this could be very valuable for those of you that want to upgrade as well. And then we'll also have a follow-up members only VIP question and answer webinar with myself. And then this will happen a little later. And then I can help you answer any questions and get you through any roadblocks. And we'll have additional deals and discounts from our partners. And as a special bonus for you guys that joined today, and then for everybody else that has already joined, this is new. I'm going to host a live in-person mastermind event in Los Angeles in California at the end of September. Okay, the date will be determined soon, but everybody that has joined the All Access Pass up until now, and everyone that joins tonight will get a chance to meet me in person for an in-person mastermind. So this way you can surround yourself with other successful e-commerce entrepreneurs for support and to build your network. And I think this is going to be an awesome opportunity. I'm taking a trip to the US at the end of September. We're finalizing the dates, but there will be an in-person mastermind for anybody that upgrades to the All Access Pass. Okay, so if you're interested, we can drop the link is underneath the video, or we can also drop the link in the chat window. Okay, so let's take some questions, guys. I already see some questions. So just let me see who is the first question. So Taylor asks, best session for a newbie to get started. Okay, best session for a newbie to get started. So this is really interesting. And I'm curious, what do you guys think as well? Christopher actually had a great response. He said you should watch them all if you are new. They all cover specific aspects that are important. Okay, so that's one way. So this is kind of like like those choose your own adventure books. Like if you guys, I think I'm kind of dating myself here because there might be some millennials that have never heard about these series, but it's basically like, the summit is divided into 5 phases, right? There's the mindset, there's the scaling, there's the marketing, there's the profitability, and there's the building a team. I think for beginners, you should check out the mindset first, just so that like kind of what people are going through as a 7-figure seller. Okay, I like Elaine's session, the $1 million one-person business, because she really like talks about what are like the common threads of success and what are some of the tools like on a high level. Okay, so I would look at that. That one is great, especially for newbies getting started, like Taylor. And then I also like, let me see. I like Megla session as well. I feel like Megla session is, she talks about the, learning and, sourcing beyond Alibaba. I think that's also important. Okay. And then, so that's really great. And let me see, I think Greg Mercer's session is good as well, because we walked through how he got started. He was working a full-time job. He talked about how he really, really hustled. So he said after he got off his job, him and his wife would have dinner. And then afterwards, like from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., he would just bring his laptop to Starbucks and he would just work through the night on his Amazon business. And I think that that's just like inspiration for the rest of us, like how to succeed. That's what I would recommend. Okay. All right. And let me see, any other questions? So Christopher says, Chris Rawlings sent me a list of his top tools. Will you be providing a list of recommended tools, websites, and books mentioned in the series? Yes. Thank you for that suggestion. That is great. We're adding this to the All Access Pass section. We have these action guides, and then they include the recommended tools, books, and websites. So yes. Okay. Carmen, great question. Is anything going to be changed in your own strategy as an Amazon seller after learning from this summit? And if yes, what do you intend to apply? I love this question, Carmen. This is like one of the main reasons I created this summit, because I'm scratching my own itch. I am an e-commerce seller. Okay, a couple of things I am changing. Let me see. One is with the underperforming products. I am doubling down on the home runs, and then I'm going to liquidate the underperforming products. One of the key takeaways for me personally is that I have products that are selling very slowly. They're underperforming. So people have given me the same advice. Like Eddie Levine said that he never lets products sit on the shelf. Okay. Like he literally, like he's willing to even take a small loss to clear it out, because it's like, you don't want to chase good money after bad money. So I'm going to clear out those slow movers. How am I going to do that? Greg Mercer told me what he does is he does giveaways and he drives PPC, like he increases PPC just to clear it out. Okay, this way you get your working capital back, and then you can invest it in 80-20, right, in your good products. That's one thing I'm doing. Second thing is Facebook marketing. I am just like, I got to teach myself this. ManyChat is a great tool. Mike Jackness, my good friend, like he talked about that. Literally, if you just watch Mike's session, you can just follow exactly what he's doing. Obviously, different markets are a little different, but I think that just getting started, that's really something that I'm going to implement next week. So those are two things that I'm doing. And three, customizing the products. I'm making some improvements on my products, and then I'm going to use some 3D printing to get some rapid prototypes, because the thing is, my supplier, I talk to my supplier, they're very resistant to make these changes. Even though we have a great relationship, we speak the same language, we're in the same time zone, they're still resistant. So I'm thinking I may have to take this into my own hands. So like what Chris Davey shared, about his strategy with the rapid product development, hiring these types of, engineers, product industrial engineers. Also, if you're interested in product development, check out Jared Ha's session. Jared actually is an American in China. He runs a factory in Dongguan, China. He's his factory has worked on some of the biggest Kickstarter campaigns that you've seen. I can't mention the brand name, but if you're into Kickstarter, you have seen the products that he makes. So he can give you like a real inside look how to custom manufacture your product and what you shouldn't do. That's one thing I'm looking into. I don't want to like go too overboard, but I think one other thing is copyrights. That's something that I haven't done yet. And copyrights, are for my brand, it is trademarked in the US. We're brand registered, but we're trademarked in China. We're not trademarked in EU yet. I think that's one hole that we got to plug. John DiGiacomo, he gave a great talk about that, and also copywriting as well, just so that in case anybody steals the product, or if anyone like copies my pictures, I own that copyright, and then we can take legal action if necessary. I mean, just another way to build a moat around our business. All right. So let me see. Question. Yeah, Christopher Cleves, 100%. Messenger marketing tips were awesome. Definitely going live, 100%. Yeah. Mike Jackness, I mean, that guy's a beast. Justine Smith, as a new seller, how soon after launching your first product would you start looking to launch a second? As an experienced seller, would you launch different products simultaneously? Yeah, that's a great question. As a new seller, obviously you don't want to go too overboard in the beginning because you're learning. It's like, like a baby learning to crawl before she learns to walk before she can run, right? So I'm not gonna have my baby say, okay, go run a marathon from day one, right? Like, so as you're crawling, as you're learning the product selection process, product development process, the sourcing, and the Amazon listing, I would start off with one or maybe two products to start off. Remember those small orders, like don't overinvest. Okay, I would start off those. As an experienced seller, we may launch more products at the same time, right? So, some people, they have a goal of launching, 30 or 50 products per year, and then if you divide that up into maybe 4 quarters, that could be about like 5 or 10 products per quarter. That's more of an aggressive strategy for, people that are like further on, like they're in the 6 to 7 figure range already. But starting out, I wouldn't go overboard. I wouldn't do more than 1 or 2. That's a great question. Okay. Let me see. Do we have any other questions? Mike J, who do you use for PPC management? Small, mid-sized seller, 10 to 15 SKUs right now. Yeah, PPC is another challenge. Lately, I think that what Taylor and Sean taught, it's great strategy. It's a lot of stuff that you can apply. Me personally, I am doing a couple things. I'm testing some tools that can partially automate this. So I'm testing Selix, and Selix is like an Amazon tool based in Germany. So I'm testing that. We're still in the testing phase, but to be honest, I think with small mid-sized seller, 10, 15 SKUs, either train a VA to do that or do it yourself. Because actually, I was talking to Chris Davey about this offline. You actually can get like a lot of gold nuggets from your PPC search data. So, because you might be selling like, let's say, like a garlic press, but someone may be searching for like another use for it. Like maybe it's like a lemon press, right? So like you might get, like if you have Amazon PPC, like if you look in the search term reports, you'll see like the converting search terms based on your auto campaign. So you can actually get really valuable information if you look there, right? So I think at that phase, I mean, I would still, look at the reports and then try partial automation, based on the rules that we've been talking about. Okay. All right. So I think we answered that. Okay. And then Mike J said, I have a guy in India who's doing it for 120 a month. Now he wants to raise it to 200 a month for PPC. Honestly, I don't have time to manage it myself, but I want someone to manage it for me and pull out that valuable information. I am not a PPC expert. Exactly. So you're a person in India was doing it for $120 a month and now wants to raise it to $200 a month. So I would ask myself, is he doing a good job? Am I satisfied with the results? Is he controlling the ACoS? Is he pulling out the good search terms? Right. And then I would look at ways to improve as well. Okay. But yeah. And Mike, yeah, scared of leaving money on the table. Definitely. 100%. All right. So let me see. I think we have time. We just have a couple more minutes left. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat window. And then meanwhile, this has been an exciting journey, and for everyone and for myself, I'm just super thankful about that. And I think that Mike J, sourcing agents, I think sourcing agents can be useful, but in the beginning, if you're starting out, I would source it myself just so that I know how it works. So I want to learn how this works. So it's kind of like PPC. Like in the beginning, I want to do it myself. I want to learn it, and then I want to hand it off to someone else. Okay. Sourcing agents can be hit or miss. I mean, depending on, their strengths and their weaknesses. And a lot of the top sellers, they do use sourcing agents, or they have someone in-house that can source for them. So it can be a good option. But again, it really depends. Okay. All right, everyone. So we just have a couple minutes left. I would just, I'm just super grateful that everybody joined tonight, and this has been a great journey for everyone. I hope it has been helpful for you. Has this been helpful? If yes or no, please type it in the chat window. I just want to know. I mean, my goal is to help other sellers succeed, and it is the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? So hopefully the 7-Figure Seller Summit has been helpful, and I do encourage you, if you're considering the All Access Pass, make sure you grab it. This way you have access to all the sessions. And yeah, meanwhile, I just like to take a minute to thank our speakers. I mean, I just super grateful for each and every one of you guys taking time out of your busy schedules. And I'm sure our audience are very thankful for their time as well. I mean, these guys, they're running $1 million businesses. They got so much on their plate, but just like taking their time out. I just want to say thank you to them. So thank you, Chad Rubin. Thank you, Elaine Pofelt. I'm just going to go down the list. Jimmy Dye, KJ Robinson, Kelly Fidio, Bernie Thompson, Chris Rawlings, Eddie Levine, Chris Davey, Megla, Mike Jackness, Andy Humphrey, Sean Smith, Taylor Benterud, Paul Miller, Vance Lee, Sophie Howard, Gabriel Grisham, Dave Bryant, Jordan Lindbergh, Mr. X, Greg Mercer, John DiGiacomo, Jared Hall, and Nathan Hirsch. Also, I would like to thank our sponsors, Global Sources and Megla, for their support. Again, I highly recommend the Global Sources Summit for online sellers. It's an amazing event in Hong Kong in October. And not only can you learn a lot from the speakers, but you can also surround yourself with successful, like-minded entrepreneurs. Several of the speakers here will be at the Global Sources Summit in October, including Bernie Thompson, KJ Robinson, Paul Miller, Megla. So you can meet them in person. So if you have the time and the resources, I highly encourage you to attend. And remember, we have a $100 discount exclusively for 7-Figure Seller Summit viewers. And especially if you're going to Canton Fair in October or April, it's a no-brainer to just stop by the Global Sources Summit and trade shows in Hong Kong. It's very close, and then it's in between phases 2 and 3, and really it will maximize your trip and your ROI. Okay, so definitely consider that. I would like also to thank my team at the 7-Figure Seller Summit for helping support to make this happen. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you, Milan. Thank you, Josephine, for your hard work. Really awesome job, guys. Couldn't have done it without you. I'm super thankful. And finally, I would just like to thank you and thank everybody that's viewing for coming. Hopefully this has been helpful, and really appreciate your support. Just hopefully I can, we're moving up. We're surrounding ourselves with successful entrepreneurs, and then we can move up in the business. So let's keep in touch. All right, keep me posted. And I just really remember Jim Rohn's quote: "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Right. So keep surrounding yourself with these successful entrepreneurs. Okay. So I really appreciate it. And then thank you so much. Any questions, just reach me by email afterwards. All right. So thank you so much, guys. I wish you best of luck, and I hope to see you in the 7-Figure Seller Summit All Access Pass area. Thank you. Bye, everyone.